Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.
Writing romances will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm B.J. Williams. Katherine Sutcliffe will tell us about writing her book Notorious. Susie Beasley will talk with Evelyn Davis. Kids Corner will feature Shelley Ziegler-Hill. We also have Doug Benton, Clyde Martin, and Karen Fight. Coming up, Katherine Sutcliffe.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, B.J. Williams.
A couple of months ago, I attended the Oklahoma Writers Federation conference here in Oklahoma City, which is a wonderful place to go if you really want to be a writer. A number of authors were there, and I was able to talk with one of them, Katherine Sutcliffe. She is a very well-known and highly respected writer of romances, and I think you'll enjoy what she had to say about the business of writing a book. Katherine, what inspired you to write Notorious?
Well, actually about 10 years ago, I was doing some British history research and came across the time period and found it absolutely fascinating. And started doing the research for the book, I guess, about 10 years ago. And it took about 7 years before I got around to actually writing the book.
Well, now the Sepoy Rebellion in India is certainly one that has a lot of different facets to it.
Right.
And so you really started by saying this is an interesting period and I would like to do something about it.
Right.
And where did you get the idea for your central characters?
Well, I had been actually wanting to write a book about a mercenary for a long time, and I tried to come up with an idea to how to make a mercenary sympathetic. And this particular rebellion was such a fascinating one that it really showed two sides to the whole picture, and both on the Indian side and of course on the British side. So I thought taking a mercenary who kind of can fight for either side and believing in either side would be kind of a interesting concept for this idea. So my hero is sympathetic in a way to both sides.
Well, now, did you have to do separate research on mercenaries, or was this just all wound up in finding out about what India was like in 1850?
Yeah, well, pretty much. Actually, I kind of built the mercenary idea around the Navy SEALs or that sort of thing. So it's a historical kind of Navy SEALs or military men, actually. And but yeah, then I had to take him and place him back in India and how he would have been involved in that aspect during the British colonization, as well as having to have him work for the Queen as well. So it got a little complicated.
Well, now, did you have to do much research about Great Britain at the time, or did you center most of it just on India and what was happening?
Yeah, it was mostly India, because I start the book actually in England and then transport the characters to India because the heroine's father is the ex-viceroy of India. So we kind of participate a little bit in the whole political issue of how the government perceived their ideals and believing they were actually helping the Indians by kind of robbing them blind.
Well, hasn't that always helped?
Well, it is. Actually, I kind of likened it to what how the British, invaded America and took lands away from American Indians, and we're going to make your way of life better. So there was kind of a comparison there.
Now, when you get down to actually developing your characters, do you use friends and relatives and think, oh, I'll take a little bit of this and a little bit of that?
Give away my trade secrets. Everybody already runs from the room when they see me coming, because I tell everybody, everything you say gets filed away right here. Eventually it's going to come out. A little bit, especially when I come across really interesting characters. I'm a people watcher. So I don't normally do a lot of talking. I do a lot of watching and listening. So yeah, it's mostly little characterizations and quirks and that sort of thing I pick up from people.
Now, I have had a lot of authors tell me that they sit down and they've got their hero and their heroine, and they've decided this is what they're going to do, and they get about halfway through the story, and the hero says, "No, I'm not doing that." Has that happened to you?
Oh, nearly every time. And it's like, screech, halt. You know, we got to do some talking. We got to really do some talking here. And it can bring things kind of, all of a sudden you're going into areas that you hadn't expected to go. It also breathes a little bit of excitement, you know, into your book. It's to see exactly where they're taking you instead of you taking them.
Well, now, did that happen with Notorious?
Several times.
Several times. Okay. And who won?
Oh, well, actually, I think they did. I really have found that to keep the real human aspect of your characters is let them do what they want to do naturally.
Now, you have set your books in a variety of time periods. Do you, when you sit down to write a book in medieval England, even if you've written one before, do you go back and do more research?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I mean, everything just by generations varies so much that really in the type of speech you use, and you have to constantly be on top of it, because if you're not, your readers are. You'll hear about it.
Yes, I have heard writers from every genre say that they really worry about mistakes because somebody will find the mistake.
There's going to be one person, I believe it was Hope and Glory. This wasn't really a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, but it just shows you how closely they watched the books. There were several French phrases that I used in that particular book, and it's like old Latin French. Well, she was looking up every term I used. Well, there was one that she could not find. She went to the universities, she went to professors to find, you know, exactly what this, and it was something just really menial. It was like the horse ran fast or whatever.
Right.
But she finally broke down and wrote me and says, "I've been going crazy. What does this mean?" And I had to, you know, go look up my reference and send it to her. But they really do care about the details, and they can get pretty picky if you're wrong.
Right. Well, I confess there are some books where I've said, okay, this person obviously didn't do their research. Yeah. I'm just not going to read any more of it.
It's tough, and actually we have copy editors that, if they're good copy editors, they're supposed to catch that sort of thing. So although the writer always catches the heat, and we should have done our homework, we're supposed to be getting checked for that sort of thing. Good copy editor will flag you real quick. And if they get lazy, it gets slipped by.
Right, or if they're not really good in that period. Now, you have a couple of books coming up, don't you?
Right, I have Fever, which is a historical set in Louisiana, 1850s, and it'll be out in July from Pocket Books. And my first, or my debut major contemporary suspense thriller from Joe will be out in September, and it's called Darkling I Listen. I'm very excited about that one.
Well, very briefly, because we don't have much time, was it a totally different experience writing contemporary?
It was the most wonderful experience of my writing career. It was a freedom that I had never experienced, and I set it in deep East Texas, where I'm from, and was able to really call on my memories of all those small East Texas towns I have known and loved.
Great. Well, I want to thank you very much, Katherine, for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You can find more about Katherine Sutcliffe at her website, www.romancejournal.com/Sutcliffe. You can also find her books at libraries and bookstores. I think you'll enjoy them. Coming up next, we have Susie Beasley. She'll be talking with Evelyn Davis about a book I think you'll find rather interesting.
Evelyn, what is this book not like, this Life After Death by Carol Musdukes?
It's not like what you would expect. It's not a New Age book. It's not a book written by a doctor who is talking about a near-death experience. It is a novel. And it Its fundamental premise is the almost crossable, permeable line between the living and the dead. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
The story, basically?
The story relates how Boyd, which is a boy's name, but this lady is a woman physician, has a furious argument with her husband, who is a charming, what he describes as smoke and mirrors man. He's an exquisite liar. He embezzles money and then gives it away on the street. He writes dreadful poetry. He loves his family fiercely, but he is deeply flawed, and he's always trying to flim-flam his way out of it. Well, this time they're having a furious argument because it really isn't clear what he did, but it's quite obvious that what he did do was leave their 4-year-old daughter, Freddie, alone when he was supposed to be with her in a public park. Fortunately, she was found and brought home by somebody who recognized her, and in the midst of their fight, he said, "I'm sorry, I screwed up. What do you want me to do?" And she said, "Die." The very next morning, early in the morning, on a tennis court, he does.
Okay.
He dies.
So this starts this thought-provoking narrative.
That is correct.
And encounters. So this oddly, what else occurs? The funeral and all these other rituals?
Well, interestingly enough, and appropriately, it features prominently a lonely undertaker and a very shy embalmer who has a profound sense of tenderness and respect toward the bodies of the dead.
So you have this cast of characters who are drawn into this because of the death of Boyd. Well, this really is an interesting, fascinating work, Life After Death, published, new published novel by Carol Musk Dukes. And Evelyn, we appreciate you sharing this with us. This is available at your local library, your local bookstore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susie and Evelyn. And now I have a few books for you. This first one is about World War II, but in a highly enjoyable way. It's called Kilroy Was Here, The Best American Humor from World War II. It is edited and has an introduction by Charles Osgood. Osgood is an Emmy Award-winning TV journalist, and he has, I think, had a very enjoyable time collecting a really great selection of humor from the American side of World War II. Some of it will make you roll in the aisles, and some of it will just give you a quiet chuckle. You'll learn what monkey clothes are. You'll even find out who Kilroy was and where he was from. That was the ubiquitous Kilroy Was Here that was found all over both sides of the war. And you'll also get a feel for what made a GI or a sailor laugh, what helped them escape momentarily from the tedium of waiting or the terror of war. You'll also learn how to laugh about aching feet, bad food, the enemy, officers, the girl back home, the girl right here, etc., etc. The majority of this collection that Osgood has put together for us was actually created during the war. The Dictionary of Military Slang came out at that point. There are several Bill Malden cartoons in there, and including the only one that he produced that had a British soldier in it. You'll also find out why there was only one Malden cartoon with a Brit in it. Marion Hargrove's description of Army life, there are several selections from that. Selections from Yank, which was the GI newsletter produced for our boys overseas. And comic anecdotes by Bob Hope, Buddy Hackett, and the Andrews sisters. Very enjoyable, sort of thing that you can read a little bit at a time or sit down. It's small enough and read the whole thing through and find out what our fathers and, for some of you, grandfathers enjoyed during the war. My next book is for do-it-yourselfers, particularly gardeners. It's called Outdoor Water Features, 16 Easy-to-Build Projects for Your Yard and Garden by Alan and Gil Bridgewater. Now, there's nothing quite so soothing as sitting in a peaceful garden and listening to the sound of running water. And this book will show you how to have that sound in your garden. Ponds, pools, cascades, fountains, water spouts, and a container bog garden. You're bound to find something in here that will suit your particular home. There are attractive plans and step-by-step instructions for each of the features, along with materials list and cross-section drawings. The illustrations are clear, informative, and quite frankly, inspiring. Comprehensive information on pumps and filters, fitting fountains, creating formal and informal pools, what kinds of plants to use both in the pool and around it are also found in the book. If you've been thinking about a water feature, this is a very good book for you to look at. It will inspire you, and as I said earlier, the instructions are very clear and precise. They will help you to easily create a water feature of your own so that you can sit back and relax and enjoy the sound as well. Coming up next, we have Kids Corner. I talked with Shelley Ziegler-Hill, the children's librarian from Belle Isle, about a book I think that all our young people will find very enjoyable. Shelley, what have you brought for us tonight?
I have brought The Leaving by Betty Stroud.
Okay, now this, you were telling me a little bit earlier about it. This is a book that perhaps children might need a little preparation for.
I would say so. It is about a family, and it actually takes place 5 years after slavery was outlawed by Abraham Lincoln. And it's a family that they are still enslaved by their master because they owe him so much money, and so he has kept them on. And it's about their struggle to flee in the middle of the night. And I think for some children this might be a hard concept to understand, so I think there might need to be some preparation of talking about slavery and when it happened and why it happened, but prior to reading this book to kids.
Okay, so, to assure them that for the most part that sort of thing doesn't happen in this country anymore.
Exactly.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now you said there were a lot of illustrations in it.
The illustrations are wonderful in this book. They're pastels on a pumice board. They're kind of dark and murky, which I really like because the scene, the whole story is about them leaving in the middle of the night, fleeing the plantation. And the scenes are so wonderful. But yet at the same time, I would not choose this for like a storytelling book because this is something the child needs to be really close to see, perhaps sitting on your lap. But the scenes really set the mood. It's kind of dark and sad.
So you said sitting on your lap, then this is a book that you would read to a child.
Yes, the text is there's a lot, it's heavy text. The book is really for 5 to 8 year olds, I'd say. And I would have to say maybe towards the higher end of that, maybe 7 or 8 year olds, because there is a lot of text and there's a lot of language that they may not understand about slavery. So the parent will have to do a lot of explaining and discussion as they go along and afterwards.
Okay, but this sounds like a really wonderful opportunity to get your children interested.
It's a great way to introduce history and the whole concept of slavery and why it happened and how it ended.
Okay, and then of course the kids will want to go back to the library and find more books.
Yeah,
right?
that's what we hope. That's what we hope. Yes, yes.
So,
but it's a fun way to introduce history, whereas history is not so much of really kids don't seek it out so much these days. And this is a good way to get them interested in it.
now you said this was a slave family, so I'm assuming that there's some children about the age.
Yeah, they're about 6 or 7, so that's why I think it will really appeal to children because it's narrated by a girl who's their age, and they'll get that viewpoint. Whereas if you were to read a history book, you're never going to hear that viewpoint. You're going to hear adults talk about how it was and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's going to be pretty boring.
Yes, that's pretty boring for all of us.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Shelley, for being with us. Shelley has been telling us about The Leaving by Betty Stroud. You can find this at your library and your favorite bookstore. It's time now for the New York Times bestseller list. We'll start out as usual with hardback fiction, and number 10 on that list is Hostage by Robert Crace, The Fourth Hand by John Irving, The Forgotten by Faye Kellerman, Any Way the Wind Blows by E. Lynn Harris, The Woman Next Door by Barbara Delinsky, The Smoke Jumper by Nicholas Evans, Cane River by Lalita Tademi, Hemlock Bay by Catherine Coulter. Number 2 is James Patterson's Suzanne's Diary for Nicholas, and number 1 is Clive Cussler's Valhalla Rising. On the nonfiction hardback list, number 10 is Seabiscuit by Laura Hillenbrand, Diana's Boys by Christopher Anderson, The Map That Changed the World by Simon Winchester, Justice by Dominic Doone, Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom, Crossing Over by John Edward, Founding Brothers by Joseph Ellis, Ghost Soldiers by Hampton Sides, number 2 is David McCullough's John Adams, and number 1 is The Wild Blue by Stephen Ambrose. On the children's bestseller list, number 10 is The Case of the Dog Camp Mystery by Judy Katchke, The Night Before Kindergarten by Natasha Wing, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone poster book, Quidditch Through the Ages by Kenilworthy Wisp, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander, Holes by Louis Sekar, The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Number 2 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, also by J.K. Rowling. And number 1, Captain Underpants and the Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman by Dav Pilkey. Coming up next, we have Doug Benton of the Metropolitan Library System and the Oklahoma Gazette. He'll be talking with that renowned radio opera host and famous actor, Clyde Martin, about a book I think you'll find really fascinating.
Thanks. Hello again, everybody. I'm talking with Clyde Martin today. Clyde, how are you?
I'm just fine.
Clyde tells me that there is something significant about this year, and
Well, yes. I started not to bring anything on opera this time. However, I thought, well, now wait a minute. This is the Verdi year, so we may as well do something.
Verdi year what?
It was 100 years ago that Verdi died.
Okay.
And there's a big celebration in the opera world this year. All of the companies are doing his works, and he wrote 27. Now, we don't know all of those because they all aren't performed regularly, but some of the rare ones are being revived by various companies. The Met earlier this year did Nabucco. Their next season they're doing Louisa Miller and Stephalio. Now, those are not, known like Traviata and Aida, but they are being done, as well as the well-known ones, of course. Tulsa is happen to have one of their brochures here.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing 2 Verdi operas this year. They're doing Il Trovatore and Rigoletto. Dallas is doing Simon Boccanegra, which is not all that well known either. Anyway, what I have brought are a 3-volume set called The Operas of Verdi. And the first volume is from Oberto, his first, up through Rigoletto. Next is Il Trovatore through La Forza del Destino, his middle period. And then the latter period, which of course really was his greatest period, from Don Carlo through Falstaff. And these books are not just the plot synopsis or anything like that. Oh yes, they get into that.
Yeah.
But they give a lot more than that. They give the background as to why he chose these particular subjects. And of course, in the case of Nabucco, his first opera, it was almost all political.
Yeah. He is associated with Italian politics.
Oh yes, yes.
In fact, he was in
Parliament.
for.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever showed up.
No, I don't think so either. But that was really at a period when he was not composing, because from the middle period on to when he wrote Otello and Falstaff, he just didn't write anything. And suddenly then, of course, he did decide to do Otello because, he loved Shakespeare, first of all. And he did Otello, and then at the age of 77, he did Falstaff, with his really only successful comedy. He had written a comedy early on. His second opera was Un Giorno di Regno, but it was a flop. And so after that, he never attempted comedy again until the very end with Falstaff. And of course, Otello and Falstaff now, and really Don Carlo is coming up, are being considered his greatest works.
Really? Well, thank you. The 100th anniversary of Verdi's death.
1901.
The Operas of Verdi in 3 volumes. Thank you, Clyde.
Sure.
Thank all of you, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Doug and Clyde. I have with me now Karen Feit from the Oklahoma Department of Libraries, and she's going to tell us about a really interesting website. It's called healthfinder.gov, isn't it?
Yes. The good thing about it is there's so many health sites on the internet, and there's not really a good way to measure whether they're telling you the truth or they just want to sell you some exotic drug. This one is put together by the Department of Health and Human Services. It covers over 1,800 websites, including a lot of them like the Arthritis Foundation and so forth. So it's picked out the really good foundations dealing with any disease. It's aimed at the consumer. It has a searchable function. There is a medical dictionary in it, which is a very nice thing because medical dictionaries are very expensive. It can lead you to clinical trials if you're interested in getting into some experimental program. It has all the 800 numbers for the various foundations like Arthritis Foundation and so forth, so you can get in contact with them. There's a part of it that is a kids website. There's a part that's in Spanish if you need that. So it's really a very good kind of umbrella site that the government's put together.
Okay. So this would be, if you have a medical problem, this would probably be the first place you should go, is to healthfinder.gov, and then they will tell you what sites actually know what they're talking about.
Right.
Or if you just have a question, your doctor gave you a prescription, you can't even pronounce it, much less figure out what it's going to do to you.
Yes, one of the features is a drug information, the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, which will give you dispensing information for all of those strange prescriptions.
Okay. And explain what some of the side effects. I know I have read some of those things, and I'm thinking, my word, you know, I don't even understand what most of this they're saying could happen to me is.
That's true.
So, but now, once you find it, once it says, okay, this is a good site to discuss Parkinson's disease or to explain about Parkinson's disease, then can you just go, does it have a link to those sites?
Yes, it has hot links to the sites. It also has some full text information that you can print out.
Oh, okay. So, so there actually is some information there,
Right.
at least the beginning steps on these sort of things, so that you can get a little bit going while you're waiting for your hot link to really actually connect you to the next site. So, and for the kids site, now that's it is aimed directly at the kids. It's not just information about children's problems.
Right. It has a game section as well as a little. I don't know, if the kid was doing homework, for instance, it would be a quick and easy way to find out about arthritis or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Or if a young person found out their grandmother had arthritis, or any of a variety of number of other things that happen to us, then the child himself or herself would be able to find that out.
It would be something at their reading level.
Okay. And also Spanish, that's really super. Thank you very much, Karen, for being with us, and we hope you'll come again and tell us about more websites. We've had with us Karen Fite from the Oklahoma Department of Libraries. And I want to thank you all very much for being with us and remind you that you can find out all about the Metropolitan Library System at our website, www.mls.lib.ok.us. If you want to know where our libraries are, when they are open, this is the place for you. It also lists all of the programs that are going on at each of the libraries. You can access our catalog of materials, find out what we have, make arrangements to put it on reserve. Join us again next week.
Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City. proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.